the track, where the viaduct looms like a bird of doom as it ships and cracks, where secrets lie in the border fires and the humming wires. Yeah, man, you know you're never coming there. Past the square, past the bridge, past the mills, past the stacks. On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand. Wrap you in his arms, tell you that you've been a good boy. He'll rekindle all the dreams that took you a lifetime to destroy. He'll reach deep into the hole, heal your shrinking soul, but there won't be a single thing that you can do. He's a god, he's a man, he's a ghost, he's a guru. They're whispering his name through this disappearing land, but hidden in his coat is a red right hand. You don't know no money will get you some. You don't have no car will get you one. You don't have no self-respect, you feel like an insect. Well, don't you worry, buddy, cause here he comes through the ghettos and the barrio and the valley and the slum. His shadow is cast wherever he stands, stacks of green paper in his red right hand.
Hey, Ruben, when Venado gets back to your gym, you got to play him that video, dude. That is, man. Have you heard that song before, Ruben?
No.
Oh my God,
David! I don't think it went through, dude. We're still on a waiting mode.
What do you mean?
Yeah, can anybody check besides me? I mean, I'm watching YouTube and it's just waiting on the gray line.
You guys saw it, right? You guys saw the video. Yeah, everybody's watching it. Benny, people are watching it.
Because mine's showing this frozen.
Yeah, no, man. No. As a matter of fact, I was going to ask you, Benny, where did you get that song? Who sings that song?
Yeah. That's from I can't remember the movie. It's an old movie. I can't remember.
Debbie Does Dallas?
No.
Behind the green door.
So, dude, can somebody else check on the live, because I'm frozen here.
No, Benny. Everybody's
we're all watching.
Yeah, we're all watching. Yeah.
Okay. Can somebody come up and write a note?
Chris is on.
Yeah,
Chris is on.
Right now, I'm gonna welcome everybody, bro.
I see it. They're on, but it's not moving. In other words,
it says waiting for the green line.
Yes, it's frozen.
Really, you're seeing it too? Yeah. No, we're live and people are watching it, bro.
They're standing by to watch.
Do me a favor, Roger. If you're watching it, can you just send me a text real quick? Just say thumbs up, if you don't mind. Yeah, because I show live 4:23. We've been on.
Because the song kept freezing up too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Roger, Benny has a big headache. Big headache. Oh, I don't know. So, Roger, is it on? Yes. Okay. Are you watching it?
Put down the pipe.
A big headache. Okay. Chris, can you just confirm that you're watching it?
Give us a thumbs up.
Give us a thumbs up, please, on if you're watching it, because you're seeing the same thing, right, Chalo?
So on Facebook we're on Facebook.
Okay, so we should be on YouTube too, right?
YouTube is
yeah.
YouTube, we're on.
Chalo, what are you showing on YouTube?
Yes, yeah. Roger said yes on all threes. We're on.
Okay, all right.
Hey guys, before we get started, real quick, Benny, hopefully you remember the name of the song and what movie it was. But we want to welcome Don't Drink and Drive, Don't Drink and Get High and Get Online. Orale. Thank you for watching the show. Big Roger Demshock, San Diego Sheriff Legend, San Diego PD, Team 4 Legend, 1097. Chris Kilby's watching. We also have the big Chris Kilby people are standing by on a different line. I think it might be on maybe our Twitter, but on Facebook we're on, and on
YouTube we're on.
our YouTube we're on. Yeah.
Hey,
It might be that.
hey, we can't
Yeah.
start the show without Ceci. Where's
I know
Ceci?
where's Ceci at. I don't know where Ceci's at today. Maybe, hopefully she's, you know what? They started school and she works for the school district, I believe, Riverside. So she's probably still at school, working overtime or something. But we miss you, Ceci. Guys, with that said, guys, do we have any shout outs?
I do.
Okay, go ahead,
First
Big Chalo.
of all, I want to say our prayers go out to Ferguson police officer Travis Brown. I guess it was a protest. During the protest, he was slammed to the ground, and he's in the ICU. Suffered
A police officer, Chalo?
Yeah.
Police officer?
He's fighting for his life. Police officer.
Oh, wow.
Traumatic brain injury. And then my shout out to their chief, who today, Troy Doyle went up there and made us. If you guys can see it on YouTube or Twitter or something, not YouTube. Yeah, it might be on Instagram. Put his name as Troy Doyle, and he goes out there and he tells his people, his council, enough is enough. As a police department, they tried their best to change the image and do training and do everything that all these people wanted. And at the end, he says, why do they keep on protesting Ferguson? All the bad officers are gone. All the bad people are gone. And this is just like we were talking before the show. It continues. We'll bring this on hopefully later on, and we'll have a show where we can do this. But shout out to the chief and our prayers for the officer.
Yeah, prayers for them. Big Sean, do you have any shout outs?
No, just happy to be here.
Benny, shout outs?
No.
And Ruben, right now, Benny's going to do the introduction, but we're excited to have you on the show. We're excited to the topic, man. I mean, MS13, it doesn't get better than that. You're the expert. You were there. You saw it from the very beginning. We're honored to have you. With that said, Benny, it's all yours, brother.
Well, our guest tonight is former LAPD officer Ruben Palomares. When with the LAPD, Ruben was assigned to the Rampart crash unit. Ruben was assigned to work and monitor MS13. Tonight, we're going to discuss how MS13 got started, just how violent is the gang, and how did they expand to so many cities throughout the country. This will be part 1 of MS13 series. Next month, we're going to have Prince George police investigator George Darris, who's going to discuss how MS13 established themselves in Maryland at the level of a gang and the level of the gang in that city and the violence they brought to that city. And I'm sure, like Ruben knows, it's happening in a lot of different cities throughout the country. We're going to hear from these two experts that make MS and what makes MS13 and what makes them so violent in this country.
Go ahead, Benny. You can start off with the first question.
Yeah. Let's start by telling our audience about your early days with LAPD, Ruben, your assignments, some of those duties, and your assignment to LAPD's crash unit. What does crash stand for? And what was the mission statement of the unit?
All right. First, I'm going to say hi to Roger. He just said what's up to me.
Yeah,
Roger.
did you see that? Yeah.
Hey, so thanks, guys, for having me on the show. First of all, Rampart Crash stands for Crime Resistance Against Street Hoodlums. Back in the crash unit started before the 80s, but MS13 migrated from El Salvador and landed in Rampart Division in the 80s. I want to back up on the question, Benny, because me preguntaste como 3 preguntas. First.
There's stacked questions here, man. We're trying to save some time.
Okay. So tell our audience your assignments and duties when you were assigned to LAPD's crash unit.
When I graduated the academy, I chose to go to South Central Division, which is Southeast, which is in Watts. I worked patrol there for around 6 months. Working patrol, just working in the projects and Crips, Bloods, all the Hispanic gangs in that area. Then 6 months in the process, I got recruited to work undercover in the high school undercover narcotics unit, which is a 21 Jump Street. That picture of me with the glass and the like Pendleton, that was me working undercover. And I went back to high school like a student, 21 Jump Street, buy narcotics, infiltrating to see who sells guns, dope in school, and buying dope, buying guns, and of course doing a bust eventually after a few months and busting the kids that were selling dope or selling weapons in the school, or linking them to the houses where they're being supplied by the big suppliers. So my next assignment was Rampart Division Patrol. I went to patrol for about a year. While in patrol, I got assigned to another unit, which is called Field Enforcement Section. It's narcotics undercover, like the movie Training Day. I work the streets, work informants, do narcotic buys, busts, warrants. And then after that assignment, I was recruited to Rampart Crash. And that's when I got voted in, but 22 officers and the sergeants, they have a meeting, they talk about you, look at your package, look at your work ethics, your anything that's going to get you to be credible in the unit or solid in the unit, which is the slang they use. They vote you in and recruit you. They recruited me in, and I took the job, and I brought my partner along with me. And from there on, I was assigned the first day on the job by my partner, who was a 5-year veteran in Crash. He actually was doing MS13, so we got assigned to MS13.
Wow. Hey, I see in that picture where you're doing the 21 Jump Street, you're throwing the sign for cops on.
Yeah, that was a joke. Yeah.
You got the C for cops.
Yeah.
Órale. Chilo. It's funny, but not too many people knew that back then, right? So they thought you were throwing a real gang sign.
Yeah, they didn't know that.
Okay. Hey, so hey, Ruben, so you were assigned to the crash unit out of Rampart, right?
Yes.
And so what was your assignment at the time, and what street gangs were you assigned to monitor at the time?
The main gang I was assigned to was MS13, but during the time in the time where I was working in Crash, they were not MS13, they were just MS, because they were still not working or under the MA yet. They were at war against the MA 18. All neighborhoods had a green light on MS13 because they were not paying rent to the MA yet. So there was a big old green light on them during the time I was in Crash. My job was to deal with MS, period, gang monitoring, identifying them, dealing with informants, dealing with the drive-bys, the extortions, the dope in the parks, the dope in the streets, anything that's happening with MS, the kidnapping, the rapes, the murders. We were involved. We were in all that stuff.
Wow.
Hey, Ruben, what year was this that you were working with in the Rampart Division with Crash?
From like 95 to like 97, around that time, 2 years during that time in Crash.
Okay,
it
right
was
now,
hot. It was really hot, popping because there was so much wars.
So right now, Sean's going to talk about, the inception, when they started. So by the time you're working, 95, 97, they're already established. We're going to go back to that question right now, and they're rocking and rolling. So you're in a position to start gathering intelligence, gathering informants, because they're rocking and rolling, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They were big time already. They already spread out like a tree, like a tentacles of an octopus just all over the place. They had cliques everywhere. They had cliques, a Coronado clique, Leeward clique. They had a Hollywood clique. So they were just clicking everywhere in LA, branching out, and they were at war with other gangs, but they're also war within themselves for territory. Coronado and Leeward clique were both MS gangs, but they have different shot callers for one area, and they were at war killing each other too. I actually solved the murder because one of the MS13 guys from Coronado clique killed the shot caller from Leeward clique during the same time and shot him in front of his wife and kids and his mother-in-law because he wanted that park, which is Parkview, Lafayette Park. They were moving a lot of dope there and collecting a lot of money there. So they took him out, and then they had war during that time against each other.
Wow. Okay. Go ahead, Sean. Let's start off from the very beginning, then we'll jump back to here.
All right. Hey, welcome back, Ruben.
Thanks.
Hey, who is MS13? How did they get started? And did they originate out of LA, or where did they originate? And who and how they became members of the gang?
So pretty much they migrated from El Salvador because the guerrilla war was going on in El Salvador in the 80s or whatever. During that time, most of them migrated. They were parents with their kids. They came out of El Salvador in fear of the war that was going on over there during that time, and they landed in a LA, basically Pico Union area, which is Rampart Division. During the 80s, they were not gang members. They were just basically people that gathered together and they were protecting their people, but they were more like stoners, heavy metal guys smoking weed, long hair. They were not MS13 yet. They were not MS. They were just a Salvadorians that came from El Salvador, kind of learning the culture out here and the city, the environment, and landing in an area where there was already a lot of gangs, which is 18th Street, big gangs there, Playboys, Crazy Riders, Easy Riders, gangs that were already in existence for years. Well, they landed in the center of that. Well, in the process of time, of course, they started having problems, and they started getting involved with the problem in the neighborhoods because they started getting involved with the criminal activities too, and then they basically gave themselves the name MS because it's from their own culture, Mara Salvatrucha. They have different reasons what Mara could be means united. It has a different meanings to them. Salvatrucha means from El Salvador, or also trucha meaning they're like aware, alert. But they weren't 13 yet. They started cutting their hair and getting the tattoos little by little as they started getting involved with the violence against 18th Street. They became their number one enemy during that time. And they started doing what everybody else was doing, selling dope, extorting. So then they were starting to be forced to pay money to the Mexican mafia. But they refused to pay, so they went at war with all the neighborhoods in that area, which was not only 18th Street. 18th Street also had a lot of cliques in that area. So when one block would be 18th Street, one clique would be like 11th and Lake, CLCS, and they have 11th Street would be at war with the MS13 over here. They had war with each other, but they had so many cliques from each other. The war was around the corner from block to block. And during that time when I was working, there was drive-bys every day. And it wasn't just MS13, MS and 18. It was a Crazy Riders, Diamond Street, Temple Street, Playboys. They were at war with each other, but most of the time they were all targeting MS because they were not paying any rent. And they had enemies everywhere. They were pretty ruthless. They didn't care about the violence. They didn't care about the shootings. They'll shoot at the cops too. If you're in pursuit, they'll shoot at you too. They started extorting their own people, and that's where it became harder because now they're extorting their own people, robbing. At one point, they had a whole family kidnapped in their own apartment, raping their 15-year-old daughter. And we're in the crash unit, and the detectives call us and say, "Hey, we have a situation over here. MS13 has a family hostage in their apartment, and they raping their daughter, and they say they're gonna shoot it out with us if we get them." So we all posted up, basically like snipers, ready to take them out, and they surrendered on the other side of the apartment. We were one side with my partners, and they ended up surrendering. But yeah, that's what they were doing. They would just ruthless killers.
Ruben, so what's with all these Central American, some Central American, but these people coming up, like the Salvadorians, now you have the Venezuelans. What's with them in rape? Because the MA, our gangs usually don't rape people, the gangs here in California, but these guys love to rape people. Just what's up with that?
They're ruthless. They're savages. But again, I'm not going to defend the Sureños either because when I was a cop in Rampart and I dealt with all the neighborhoods in that area, some of the Sureños were doing the same thing. They were just not exposed. A lot of times they weren't exposed. They would do train rapes with the get a go doped up, and they'll still do. But they're going to get PC'd up. Sometimes they weren't exposed out there. Sometimes they were and they get stabbed. But in the area where I worked, there was no scruples. These guys made up their own rules, and I seen betrayal from the top to the bottom. We had a guy working for the M from 18th Street. They'd be our informants and giving us information when they're going to go shoot up MS13, and then they're working for the M, but they're also working for Crash. So we had informants from MS13. The stuff they did, we were exposed to because they were telling on each other. So all neighborhoods over there, they're just fear, force, violence, intimidation. That's what they did a lot of.
Hey, Ruben, how different were they? I mean, when they first started in '84, I know you, 84, the early '80s. Do you know exactly what year they actually started? And do you know what barrio they started and how they started?
They started in Rampart. Rampart and 6th Street. That's the first click right there. The Coronado click. That was the first part where they first started, and it was in the '80s. But again, they were first stoners. And the
Okay.
process started evolving into gang members, and then they started getting the tattoos, started cutting their hair like gang members. They started going to jail, prison. Um, that's where they started getting more involved with the dope game because they started moving weed too. By the time late '80s, they were already like pretty much full blown at war with other neighborhoods, especially 18th Street.
And Ruben, were they all originally from El Salvador?
For the most part, yes, because there was once in a while that somebody will skate through the cracks, like a Moreno that was raised in the block. They were picking up numbers. They'll recruit somebody from a different state or country or yeah, country too. Even they had some guys that were Morenos and they'll recruit them into MS13. But for the most part, it was supposed to be Salvadorians. But because of numbers and you're from the block and you're down, whatever, they're going to jump you in. And they didn't really sweat it if you were from another country.
And Ruben, what was the age group of these guys? Because I hear and I've talked to other experts like yourself where they say that these guys were all former paramilitary, that they would literally, all the gangsters would be walking down the streets. These guys be hiding in the trees with machetes. Is that all true? Did you ever see that?
In the beginning, when they first got here from El Salvador and migrated, that was their mentality because they came from that war. The older guys that were here at that time, and I was talking to my wife about this. The MS guys, you put them on their knees, they'll start fighting you because they thought they were going to be executed because in El Salvador they're being executed back then. So they'll start fighting you because they thought you were going to execute them because they get executed over there by the military and the police over there. So they were afraid. Once we put them on their knees over here and crash, they want to start fighting you because they thought we were going to put them out and put a bullet in their head. And in reality, that was our tactics: put them down, put them on their knees, and cuff them up and search them. But we get into fights with them. But that was just the older guys. Then they started training the youngsters and recruiting youngsters. That's because they started picking up numbers. And that's how they started growing. They started branching out everywhere. And the little kids were becoming gangmen from MS13.
Hey, right before Benny's going to ask you the question next, but right before he asked that question, were the majority of the original founders and members, were they illegals?
Yes. Yes, they were because they all came from over there with what they call is, the first generation Salvadoran family members. They brought them over. And, of course, the main ones that were coming over were all from El Salvador, and they were illegals.
Okay.
What year was
We
this?
deported a lot of them actually too during that time. Sorry, guys, we deported a lot of that. That's how we would also threaten them. We tell them, you better work for us, or we're going to send you back to El Salvador and deport you. You're either your informant, because back then they were getting beat up and shot up in El Salvador by the military, and they found out they were from there back in the 90s. So they were a lot of them would not become our informants. Or we had immigration with us along the side. Say, hey, we got this guy right here, take him away. And that was intimidation way we used it too.
What year was this, más o menos?
In the 90s, mid 90s, probably. I mean, it was going on before me because in the mid 90s, that's when I was in Crash, but it was already happening before I was in there.
Mm.
Yeah, go ahead, Benny.
Well, Ruben, you pretty much answered already that question, but let me ask you, why are they so heavily tattooed, especially the tattooing of their face?
Again, intimidation, and they're proud to be who they are. They really love that image. They love their neighborhood. They're down for it. They don't care. They're knucklehead. They're hard-headed. And again, also, they're Satanists. They do also worship the Santa Muerte, and they do sacrifices, do a lot of that stuff. That's what their cuernos, they do that a lot. But they do have a tie with that too. They're really into shedding of blood.
So do they have that apocalypto type of, the Aztecs, the Mayans? Is that why they have all these strange tattoos? When you were working from 95 to 97 Rampart, did they have all these tattoos already on their face, or did it evolve into this monster look?
No, they already had it. You had a lot of youngsters that were already looking like that. And I mean, you get to interact with them one-on-ones or in groups, and you deal with them. And remember, in Crash during that time, we were the ones that were intimidated. They were scared of us. And this is not boasting, but we had our tactics that operated and worked because we knew how to deal with these guys in all the neighborhoods. we were trained to handle them and deal with them the way we had to. So, and because victims were not saying nothing, they're scared. We make sure they understood that when you deal with victims, we're gonna mess with you guys and we're gonna deal with you guys. So they knew the rules. They understood the rules. So yeah, all that tattoo stuff, it's just the front. But when you get them one-on-one, you see the real human side, and you deal with them.
Go ahead, Chalo.
Hey, so imagine showing somebody your daughter shows up with you and says, "Hey, Dad, I want you to meet my new future husband." Nah, I'm just saying. It's when you break up the machete, huh? He says, let me take off his tattoos. Anyway,
carve them.
Yeah, carve them off. Hey, Ruben. So we often hear of the Casas Destroyer. What are they?
Well, those are what they use. They don't use them in Rampart. This area they weren't involved. They have them in other states in the United States, but in LA, Rampart Division, they didn't have that. They had their own apartments, homes. They rented, they leased, or they moved into people's homes and did their drug dealing. They cooked their dope in there. They did their violence, their gang activity. They did that in their own home, but they were not Casa Destroyers. Casa Destroyers are what they use in other states in the United States, like maybe Georgia out there where they're at, spreading. What they use these abandoned homes for illegal activities, for violence, drug dealing, rapes, whatever their activities. That's what they use houses for. They're vacant homes, abandoned homes. But
so they become what do you call those? The squatters?
Yeah, like squatters basically. Yeah. But in Rampart Division, they didn't have that because we pinpoint where they lived and we put pressure on them. We dealt with them, but we also knew where they were cooking dope, and our informant would tell us, we'll hit the house and take them down right away. Anything that we knew about them, we'll go get them. For the most part, they would only try to come out at night and try to hide from us because they knew we were out there looking for them. So they'd try to hide from us or try to be out of Rampart area somewhere where they could do their activity without being busted by Rampart Crash.
Hey, Ruben, how different were they from 95 to 97 when you were out there from Mara Maravilla, from, the established barrios there in East LA? Because when they officially started, did they start with the baggy pants, because they dressed like cholos, you know what I mean? They dressed like gangsters. Did they start like that? And then when was it when the face, because Chicanos back then didn't have the face tattoos, didn't have the tattoos on the neck. Now we see it, but back then we didn't. So is that how you were able as a cop to distinguish this vato's Mara because he's tatted in the face, neck? The Chicanos weren't tatted. They were tatted everywhere else except the face and neck. Is that how you were able to distinguish who they were?
No, for the most part, it was more like territories where they were from. We knew their areas because when you're working Rampart Crash and you're assigned to MS or 18th Street, you know the areas, the neighborhoods, you know who's who. You already ID'd them. You already have them on their F5 card. You already know everything about them. For the most part, you have a pretty much understanding who's running the shots, who's this, who's that, who nicknames, tattoos on them. You already know because you've already been monitoring them, talking to informants, and basically IDing all your MS guys from the cliques. If they invade from a different clique to Rampart, like from Hollywood clique, we right away pick them up and ID them and take them to the station and check them for whatever and fingerprint them. So it was more like just us doing intel and picking up info on who was who. But like MS13, like you said, sometimes you could ID them with that kind of tattooing that you knew where they were from when they're roaming around in other blocks, other neighborhoods.
Hey, Ruben, what about the language? I mean, the Chicanos, órale, say, where you from, homie? You know what I mean? The Chicanos from, Boyle Heights or whatever, they have a certain style of talking. Did these guys pick up that style of talking, or was it more pollo, órale, cabrón? I mean, how different was, because by now in 97, they're already speaking English. It's second generation coming in, right? How different was their vocabulary? And that's one question. The other question is, Chicanos, we always loved oldies but goodies. We love, corridos, but more oldies but goodies. Did these guys assimilate that also, the oldies but goodies?
Though, yes, they did. The oldies but goodies, they did assimilate that. They started trying to imitate the gangs in the same culture of the gangs from the Chicano gangs, but also their language. You could still distinguish their language because they were broken English or it was more like a Salvadoran accent, like hijo de puta, that kind of language that how they
Oh,
spoke.
okay, got
You
it.
still hear
Yeah.
them in Spanish. You detect them. That's who they
Uh-huh.
were. Their language. A lot of them they gave themselves away. They wouldn't lose that part still, and you knew.
Okay. So hijo de puta, and now you hear that how they talk. So it's
Yeah.
different than what Chicanos usually
Yes,
speak
and most
in the barrio.
Chicanos don't even speak any Spanish.
Yeah.
So the MS guys, most of them they speak Spanish or broken English, but they didn't speak a lot of English. But the Chicanos from our culture, East LA, Colada, don't speak any Spanish.
Yeah. That's interesting. Go ahead, Big Sean.
Hey, Ruben, how did the gang expand so rapidly across the United States? And what type of criminal activities are they into besides selling dope? And are they into like smuggling and trafficking and whatnot?
Yeah, they got involved with that too, and that was basically they hustle. They were a hustler. They hustle, move the dope. They trafficking, human trafficking. They had a little bit of everything because once they got involved, these guys went full force. They didn't have they didn't have rules that they were going by. Like the MA had rules and they have structure. In the beginning, they didn't have a structure. They were doing their own thing, making money, hustling, and that's what they were at war with the MA or all the neighborhoods out there because they weren't paying any rent. But they were trying to do anything to make that money and to grow. Numbers, of course, recruiting numbers in the blocks, neighborhoods. The kids in the blocks being recruited, growing. They were growing from like cliques to cliques. They'll move to another clique city. They'll build a new clique over there. Hollywood clique, Leeward clique, Coronado clique. They had all the cliques. They're blowing up everywhere, and it goes recruitment.
Yeah, I know that they're big here on the East Coast, especially where Detective Norris is up in Maryland and whatnot.
They did hear about that. They moved out there too. They're all over the place.
Oh yeah.
So what type of hierarchy do they have? I mean, does every barrio or every clique
Good
have
question.
their own, or do they have actually the mero carnales like the M? Do they have some the norteños like the M? I mean, like how do they do this?
Okay, so after a while, the M recruited some MS13 guys to the M. So then they had their own hierarchy, but they were MS13 guys from the M now who were in prison, locked down with the M guys. So they were soldiers and got voted in to be M. So now they became MS13. So now they were all basically structured like the Mexican Mafia and the Sureños. That's when they came under them. But because they were ruthless and violent, they were good like torpedo soldiers that they're sent to missions. They were used for a lot of stuff. They were always locked down in the prisons because of that. Because they were ruthless and ready to raise their hand and stab somebody or put in the work. So they became structured with the MA because now MS13 had Mexican Mafia guys made members now. So that's how they got the green light taken away. They started paying rent to their own home, their own people, basically.
So that's
Hey, Ruben, go ahead, Chalo. Go ahead.
That's how they're running the streets now. Then they have their capitanes or whatever they might call them running every set.
Yeah, now they have the structure the same way like the 18th Street has it. Playboy is the same way. The neighborhoods have it the same way now.
Hey, Ruben, so what you're telling us, do they have like a paramilitary type of, like so what Chalo said, captains? I've never heard of a Chicano gang, at least here in San Diego, where they have a leader. I mean, there's always that informal leader that, I mean, I've never had any barrio in San Diego. We've never had, hey, you're the presidente, you're the vicepresidente, you're the treasurer. I mean, I don't think you guys have it like that in LA, right?
Well, in LA, you have the same structure like pretty much everywhere. It's like the MA, his underboss, who's gonna be running the show in the streets, collecting the debt, the rent. He has his workers, his soldiers, torpedoes. He's gonna have a little structure. They're gonna have that. Well, the MS13 has the same thing now because they have MA guys. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if before they got into the MA, did they have the same structure? Basically, the shot caller is the baddest dude in the barrio, and then when he gets locked, the second baddest dude takes over. But they don't have a president. They don't have an hierarchy. In other words, they don't have that, right? They're just like the Chicanos. And the second question is, they're very territorial. But now what we're starting to see in the East Coast, that's where Sean's question comes in. They're becoming more not only territorial, but drug dealers, correct?
Yes. So they're territorial, like you said. The structure is similar to what the Sureños have because they copied them and they went under the MA. So now they're under the structure, but in the beginning they did have like the shot callers, and again, but they were still like at war because the territory that they wanted from their own MS13, like had a park, like I told you, Parkview park. There was a lot of dope coming into that park, and a lot of money was being made. So the Leeward clique was running it. The shot caller from Leeward clique was running it, but the Coronado clique took him out to take over the park, and that was in-house wars. So that's for MS13, but different cliques of wars. When they became Mexican Mafia made, the structure stayed. Now they still have the structure, but there was more respect because now you have the accountability to the MA. Makes sense?
You know, it's really funny, Ruben, right now with Sean's question, piggyback on his question is, out of my 27 years with San Diego PD, I worked 6 years in gangs and GST, like your Rampart, and also as a detective sergeant running the teams. And not one time did I ever, in my 27 years with San Diego PD, and well, in corrections I did, but in the prison, working as a cop, did I ever run into one MS13 in San Diego? Not one time. And Chris Kilby, please tell me if you've ran into one. I know you worked the majority of your career, 20 years in gangs, and we're only 2 hours away from you. Not one time. And Chalo, I was going to ask you and Benny, you were with the sheriffs. Did you guys ever deal or have any MS13 in El Valle Imperial or Benny with the sheriffs? Did you guys ever encounter them?
One time, we encountered 4 of them in Encinitas. They were there to pick up a load from Mexico coming in.
Oh, really?
And we were doing drug interdiction, and there was a field contact. And,
okay.
And they look so awkward. They were wearing nice shirts, nice clothing. Just the faces just did not match the clothing. So once we started doing more checking, roll up your sleeves, we start seeing all the tattoos. Now we started seeing ink on the side, and they were all tatted out with MS13, but there was no tattoos on the face.
Yeah. And Sean, what about you, Sean? Sean, I mean, you worked the hills in San Isidro. Did you ever see him up there?
No, we never ran anybody in the hills or in SED.
Yeah,
never. We never ran into any of them in SED at all.
Mid 2000s, I know that with the Mexican people in Mexicali, we did, through them, we got pictures and at the port of entry, but they were already like second, third generations, because they were the like up and coming in the mid 2000s, because they had the MS tattoos on their bodies, no arms, no necks, no faces, and they were all coming through the port. We got called out there to see if we could identify them at the time, and because they were USC, so they couldn't be detained. We ended up calling LAPD, and we just gave them the info to their gang officers up there, and they had nothing pending. Wow. So I don't know what they were doing down south, if they were trying to. During that time, we had Bloods and Crips going down south to set up meth labs down there. So we thought maybe they were down there doing the same thing. You know,
our guys were from LA. We called Border Patrol because we were working with Border Patrol in that detail. And when Border Patrol rolled up, we found out that they were part of a wire. So they were being monitored by wiretap too. We just encountered them. It was just kind of a thing. We just bumped into them.
Now, Ruben, right now, Chris Kilby, he literally, I think out of his 28 years or 30 years, he did probably 20 years in gangs. Right, Sean? Probably even did more in gangs. I mean, he's a legend.
Chris knows everybody and his brother.
And they know him, too. But, Chris, yeah, you're absolutely right. The first time he saw neck tattoos were from Barrio Compton, 70s. They had moved into the Mid-City area. That's over there by Euclid and Fairmont, that area. But, Ruben, why didn't they go south? Because they were too close to the border. Why did they pick? I mean, that's what I'm guessing because we never saw them. Why did they pick going to Maryland, going to the East Coast, Central America? Why did they pick that? Ohio and all those places.
I really think because of the ignorance of who they were in that part of those states. Because they just branched out and nobody knows about them, who they are, so they could be low key for a while and then establish themselves and then build their criminal activity. And I really think that's more of what their idea was, to branch out into those areas.
They know them now. I'm telling you.
Yeah, now they know them. Yeah,
they're violent. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean. Last question.
Yeah, Ruben. Do you believe Venezuela's, and I'm trying to pronounce this right, Tren de Agua gang which is increasing concern in the United States, will become stronger or at the same level as MS13. And has the gang set up in Los Angeles that you know of? These are the Venezuelans.
Not that I know if they're set up at all, but I believe that because we have so much established gangs out here that are very like structured already, they won't allow them to establish themselves out here and just move in and think they're going to run something. I think they'd be put in their place. I really believe that unless they land in a state that's really low key ignorant. But for the most part, the United States is full of already neighborhoods, gangs, trying to run something out here. They're going to be like a sore thumb, and they're going to be put in their place.
Yeah,
I believe
the intel that we get is that they make MS13 look like Boy Scouts. I mean, these guys are
Really?
ultra violent. Oh yeah,
I don't know about that. Really?
Yeah, and especially, and what Ruben said, Louisiana is a target for them too.
Really?
So check this out, guys.
It was in the south states. Yeah.
So I was doing a little bit of homework. Guess who was the president back in the 90s when the influx of these people, migrants, started coming up north?
I don't know who.
Clinton.
Oh,
okay.
And he was a what? Democrat. Now you have all these people coming up from the south, and who is in power? A Democrat.
Yeah.
Just saying. I mean,
Yeah. Hey, Ruben. What do you know about this new group from Venezuela? Are you hearing the same thing, or I mean, are these guys that bad? And Sean, do you know if these guys are all tatted out, or
they're tatted out?
mentality?
They are tatted out. They like the train tattoo for some reason, and a clock. Yeah, a train and a clock is a big thing with them.
A train,
yeah, like a steam train.
Really?
Yeah,
okay. And
they will think nothing about attacking law enforcement in a blink of an eye.
So this is my thing behind it. But if you look at the whole thing, the reason why these guys are so ballsy to do all this stuff is because nothing's being done to them.
Yeah.
No DA, they're not being deported. No DA is prosecuting these guys. They're being let out of jail. Shit, you prosecute them, and then you deport them afterward. They're gonna stop doing this stuff. First of all, you don't let them into the country.
That's what they need to do. Stop them from coming in.
Yeah, stop them from coming in.
Here, we run them, and you start shipping them back to their country. But right now, nobody's doing anything, so that's why they're getting away with all this crap.
Hey guys, we got narco dogs. Recent intel says that TDA, I guess the same one from Venezuela, right? Tren de Aragua, has green light on cops. Yep. Have you heard about that, Ruben?
I read something about it that they did have a green light on them. I did read something like 2 days ago or yesterday when I was researching them.
All the intel units have that information already. Came out from San Diego Sheriff, San Diego PD. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder if San Diego's getting hit with them. Chalo, do you know if your old police department or the Valle Imperial, if they're working task forces?
What happens is this, bro. They're not here in Imperial County. It's just like the drugs, bro. It's just a gateway in. They're not going to stick around here. They want out. They want out of this area. There's nothing here for them. There's nothing they can really establish here. Number one, you gotta remember that Mayo and Chapo have the whole drug cartel here in the valley, and with is everything. So they're not gonna mess with them. They want to move to a city or an area that they can infiltrate and be successful here.
So that happens also with the gang members. So like MS13, they just basically cross the border there, and then they leave to LA, wherever else they're going to go.
Cross it to the bigger cities where they can be more. Here they stand out, bro. So here they're going to be picked on. Here they're going to, and they're not going to come 100 at a time. You'll get 4 or 5 at a time. The officers here will start hearing them. Then you have, HSI. You have everybody here. I mean, we got like 25 law enforcement agencies here in the valley. Different agencies, bro. So everybody from your locals to your federal level works here in their backyard. Yeah. So I mean, they're all going to want these guys.
Well, I'll tell you guys, when Venezuela started having problems 4 or 5 years ago, when I was living in Fort Lauderdale, and all of your Uber drivers were from Venezuela, literally. Mm-hmm. They went from Cuban drivers, Uber drivers. I'm talking about Fort Lauderdale, Miami, this whole South Florida area, to Venezolanos, and the majority of them were older men. They were dentists, they were doctors, they were lawyers, and now they had just come across because of the government, the problems they were having. But now I've also read and have seen some newscasts where these guys, I guess it's a younger generation, right, Ruben, of these guys, and it ain't an older
Right.
generation, and they're robbing. They have crews that go in and rob homes, burglarize homes throughout the
That's what they
nation.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Hey, Ruben, you know what? I think we're done with the questions, but you know what? We have a very interesting question, and we're going to get off the subject because we still got time from Don't Drink and Drive, Drink and Get Online. I would be interested to know how Ruben got into and stay in character to interacting with the gangsters when you worked undercover. Okay. Do you feel comfortable talking about that?
Yeah. When I did undercover work, it was pretty much in the early 90s, and I was in the high school. So in the high schools where I worked, they were busing kids from different parts of LA in Verdugo Hills. And I just played the role of rebel, not a gang member. So pretty much I that Pendleton I wasn't really wearing all the time. I just wore baggy jeans with the boots. And I fit in like one of those kids that like to smoke weed or buy and sell drugs to other people in my block. But in the high school, the kids in the school knew that I was about buying the dope from them and taking it to where I grew up because I didn't have any dope in my area, and that's how the kids would start trusting me, selling me weed, cocaine, whatever I wanted to buy, because they saw that I was moving it and then paying them up front, and pretty much just the dope, being involved in that and knowing the slang during that time got me. I guess the kids started trusting me.
And then, Ruben, when you got shot, were you still working undercover at the time? Can you talk about that? And
Yeah,
these were gangsters or were these students?
well, no, these were already older gangsters. I was in my first shoot, I working undercover. I was going to set up a buy on the payphone with the guys going to sell me PCP. Two older gang members approached me with a gun and tried to rob me. It was a random robbery. They were doing robberies in that area. They were wanted parolees at large, and when they approached me with the handgun, they were just trying to rob me. And unbeknownst to them, they didn't know I was an undercover cop. So I had my badge and my cop ID in my rear wallet, my rear pocket, in my wallet with my 9mm in my rear waistband too. So I had to pretty much distract him and try to get him to leave. I gave my money, but they kept pushing and jabbing me with the gun to try to tell me, I give me my wallet, your wallet, I'm going to shoot you. I ended up having a fight with the guys, tried to take the guy's gun away from him. We went to the ground with the other buddies, tried kicking me. The guy with the gun pulled the gun over me. During that time, I had to wrestle the other guy and throw him over me. As I get up, the guy shoots my right leg. I pull my gun out. He shoots my left leg, and I fire away and shoot him. So it was just a random shootout, a robbery during that time. It was more, they were just robbing people in that area at gunpoint.
Ruben, you know what? Now that you've answered our questions, unless if somebody else has a minute on MS13, tell us what you're doing now. It says redemption right here. Redemption. Right. And then it shows, I guess you got the Silver Star from LAPD? Can you talk to us about that?
That's a Medal of Valor for my first shootout. That was my first shootout in 1994 when I got shot both of my legs. They arrested the guys in the hospital, and they were wanted parolees at large. There's 3 guys who were big-time criminals in that area. I got the medal for that. My redemption has to do with me going rogue against the police department and the drug dealers and the gangsters out there, and getting out of control, going to prison for 16 years, getting saved by Jesus, and then becoming a counselor for mental health and traumas, addictions, and working with people now to try to help people get their mind right from whatever they've been through.
Ruben, do you have a podcast, or are you in the process of writing a book? I know you're doing a lot of training nationwide for police officers suffering from PTSD, but is there a podcast that people can watch you and talk about your experiences?
I'm working on the podcast and the book. Everything's in the works right now, but yes, it's all been in the works. My email or my Instagram is pretty much what I have right now. The email that I left you guys, and Instagram is other level _ training, coaching, other level underscore coaching. That's my Instagram. I'm working
Right
on
now,
other stuff.
I'm going to put your email, and so if anybody wants to get a hold of you, they could get a hold of you, like I got a hold of you.
Yes.
Fausto, that's the,
Yes.
like that. But
Like that.
Ruben, listen, man, brother, thank you very much, man, for being on the show. But before we let you go, brother, Benny, do you have anything else for Ruben?
No, just thanks again, Ruben.
Thank you, guys.
Big Chalo,
Hey man, God bless you, bro. Thanks for enlightening us with what's going on. It's always a pleasure having you on the show, bro. I was trying to get your Instagram. That's why I'm looking down.
Right.
Yeah, so hey, thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Right, thanks, guys.
Big Sean.
Thanks for being on the show again, Ruben, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you guys
And
soon.
Ruben, thank you once again, brother, for everything you do, man. I know you help a lot of people. You're coaching a lot of young kids and also some movie stars, some famous people are going to your gym. But above and beyond, man, you're a man of God, a man that is preaching the word of God. Thank you for everything you do, brother. God bless you.
Take care.
Thank you. Man, Benny, very interesting, man. He had to leave. He had told me before that he has some kids because he trains kids, and he has, I believe, a couple of movie stars too that he trains them on martial arts, boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. So Ruben's very active, and God has been really blessing him a lot.
I'm telling you, just watching him on his channel doing workouts gets me tired.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Hey, Benny, they don't count as a workout when you watch them, bro.
Trust me, I start sweating.
Benny, how old is he? He's probably about 51, 52.
I don't know. But Ruben's fit, man. I'm telling you, the guy's a machine.
Yeah, he is, man.
Underlevel underscore training, he said?
When are you guys going to do a show on the IE Riverside gangs? We did one already. Barton, we did one. Take a look at it. Doug Collier talked about all your gang sets. Remember? IE Riverside. Look at one of our past episodes. You'll be able to look at it.
Yeah.
Benny,
If you guys want to see more about Ruben, we've done 2 episodes with him about his downfall, him going to prison, the movie Trading Day. So you guys can go back. It was one of our very original podcasts.
One of the first ones,
maybe the 4th or 5th. So you can go back and look at that. That was pretty good. Yeah,
it was outstanding. We got a comment from Gary Player. The gangs from Venezuela are now what MS used to be. The country of Venezuela is so torn right now, the same way El Salvador used to be back in the 80s. That's why they're so ruthless. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. He was and then Ruben was an LA PD boxer too. Benny, tell us about next week. Who do we got?
Well, next week our guest is former San Diego Police Detective John Bailey. I don't know John at all. I know you know him, Dave, and I'm not sure if Sean knows him.
He knows him very well. Yeah.
He's going to be discussing that awful day in San Diego County when San Diego police officer Kirk Johnson was killed. Patrolman Kirk Johnson was shot and killed by a 16-year-old boy who had stolen his father's sheriff's uniform and marked patrol car. When Patrolman Johnson pulled up next to what he thought was a uniformed deputy in San Clemente Park, the suspect opened fire, killing him. It was a heart-wrenching event that touched and destroyed the lives of so many in our community. You know, it's going to be, gentlemen, just another real hard episode.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Benny.
That happened right after I got on the department.
Really?
And,
what year was it, Sean?
In the early 80s. I want to say 84 or something like that. It was hotter than shit that week. And I went over to my mother-in-law's house, and I was in uniform, and she poked me in the stomach. And then she started with her hand on my back to see if I had my vest on. And then she poked me in the stomach, and I didn't have my vest on. It was in the trunk. And she goes, "Hey, Menzel, where's your vest?" And I said, "It's in the trunk, Mom." And she goes, "Go put it on now." And back then we didn't have to wear it, you know. So
really,
because it was hot. Oh yeah, it was hot, and those things were uncomfortable as hell. So
I'll tell you, Benny, I got a chance to work with John. We worked together in the gang unit for, I believe, 3 years, and the guy he's
unique.
He's unique. He's a legend. Yeah. He's a legend. Yeah. You know what?
He's a good guy.
Handled some cases that there were nothing. It's like Chris Kilby. I mean, Chris is a legend without a doubt. but you give Chris a case and that everybody else couldn't solve, Chris will solve it. And John wasn't that guy, but John would definitely put his paws into it and he wouldn't stop until it was solved. So yeah, it's going to be great to have him on. He's a great speaker too.
And you know what? He hasn't stopped yet. I've talked to him, and dude, the guy is nonstop.
Yeah,
he continues to in the law enforcement profession.
You know what, Benny? I believe
he's Riverside.
No, he left the Riverside office. Now he's working as a DEA investigator in Colorado.
Oh, okay.
In Breckenridge, Colorado. Okay. And he handles all officer-involved shootings. The guy the guy has so much experience, And not only that, Benny, he's very interesting to talk to. He speaks very well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a great episode next Tuesday.
He surprised me when I called him and he started talking to me in Spanish. Like,
oh yeah, he speaks Spanish too. Yeah, very interesting.
He speaks better Spanish than Benny.
Much better.
Benny wrote a book on Spanish. What are you talking about? Hey guys, tomorrow night on Ash Wednesday, I know that I screwed up and I'm going to see how I can fix it. I'll fix it. But we have, I don't know how many of you remember the Norco 80.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember, Charlo, when you went through the academy, at least when I went, and I know Sean, probably you too, and Benny. Actually, not you, Benny, because it happened after you went through the academy. But the Norco 80, guys, it was probably one of the most devastating shooting in the history of the United States. A helicopter went down. Over 20 people were shot. One deputy sheriff was shot. I mean, these guys planted bombs. They had a bomb for diversion. It is going to be an outstanding episode tomorrow. We have Andy Delgado Monte, who is still alive today, and he's going to be on live for 2 episodes talking about probably the worst, one of the worst, not the worst, one of the worst shootings that literally it went, I believe it was like 90-mile shootout on the freeway on the I-15. It is going to be an outstanding episode. Watch us tomorrow. I'm going to fix it up at 5 o'clock on Ash Wednesday. So have your drink, your cigar, whatever you're going to have, and join us tomorrow. But it's going to be and that's
I was talking to Ruben about this a while back.
This Norco 80?
We were talking about the movie the one that has the big bank robbery.
The LA one. Heat.
Yeah, the movie. The movie Heat.
Yeah.
I was asking, Ruben and I were talking about that. So the movie Heat is a combination of a bunch of incidents that happened in LA, so including the narco shootout.
Yeah,
that's what Ruben said. Yeah. So I mean, it was it was bigger than what was that? Is it one with CHP? Newhall.
Yeah. Guys, you're gonna really enjoy it. And Andy was a private investigator. He was also a teacher at Southwestern College for many years, a professor at Southwestern College. So the guy is just like John Bailey. He speaks very well. So tomorrow night, please, guys, watch it. It's going to be a great episode. Guys, we're ending the show, but Gary Player is caught you, Chalo, back in '79 when you were trying to work undercover at Indio. they tried that undercover stuff. Chalo did.
Hey, bro. I showed up with my gear, bro. I thought it was cool, bro. And I had the top with the glasses and
hey, you're a cop. You're a cop.
In high school in Indio, but Chalo went in with a beard and with a mustache in junior high. We spotted that guy right away. He didn't last long there.
I was dressed like an Indian. I thought that says "Ve como Indio," so I was dressed like an Indian.
He had his badge clipped to his belt.
Well, you know what it was? It was a badge hanging next to his short shorts.
There you go. Hey, I was wearing the Richard Simmons gear, bro. May you rest in peace.
Hey guys, you know what? On the last note, man, thank you, Benny, for bringing him on. And next week, man, I can't wait. It's going to be a great episode. Yeah. But with that said, Chalo, last words, brother.
Integrity means everything, especially right now, and more than ever, everything that's going on. If you have integrity, especially you politicians, if you're watching, you gotta have integrity, guys. I mean, it's something in the dictionary, something that you guys should really, really go back to. If you don't have integrity, then get the hell out of politics, because our nation needs people with integrity.
Well, I haven't met one politician that has integrity, but let's look it up. Not one. With that said, go ahead, Big Sean.
You know what? I want to piggyback on what Chris is sending out, checking up on each other and whatnot. You know what? I never thought about it, to be honest with you. And yeah, we need to check up on each other, and especially in these times when things are just going to shit sometimes. But yeah, check up on, call up somebody you haven't talked to in a long, long time and check up on them, see how they're doing.
Big Benny.
Well, Chalo, this is for you. I was in the Vietnam War, and I was in a foxhole with Richard Valdemar.
Oh, okay.
And, I mean, we destroyed VC, and we got medals. So,
Okay.
you know where that goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
my sign off is, if you want to make retirement, wear your vest, guys. Wait for backup, know your equipment, and have that warrior mentality.
Without a doubt. Guys, live a purpose-driven life. And remember, be a sheepdog. Don't, I mean, no matter what, I mean, if you wear a badge or you wear a uniform or you did time or no, you're a nurse, whatever you are, continue saving lives. If you're retired, you could still make a difference. Please make a difference in somebody's life. And you know what? I'm going to piggyback on Chris Kilby. This week, I challenge you to call a police officer, call a friend. That doesn't have to be a police officer. It could be a nurse, a doctor, somebody that you know that you haven't talked to them in a long time. Give them a call. Do a buddy check just to make sure they're okay. And once you talk to them, continue the conversation, but do a buddy check. With that said, we'll see you tomorrow on Ash Wednesday. Guys, thank you. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.